Hey guys and welcome back. I always cover your face whenever I do that.
Terrible.
Hey guys and welcome back to another, God, what's the show called?
Simon's Rants?
No, First Thoughts.
Oh.
Hey guys and welcome back to another First Thoughts. We just saw Christopher Robin. Hey, look at that. I saw a movie not 2 weeks after it came out. It's actually
Whoa.
opening night. So that was a lot of fun. That's the first time I've ever done that, actually. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, if you haven't seen any of the trailers or anything, this is essentially Winnie the Pooh's version of Hook with Robin Williams, but with Ewan McGregor instead. It's the same basic story. You know, you've got the adult who he used to be a kid in this magical world, and now he's grown up and he's become jaded and he's too adult to be in this world, but then he's grabbed and pulled back into this world unexpectedly and has to kind of just learn to accept it or not. Winnie the Pooh to me is my childhood. Like, I mean, I teared up just watching the trailer. Like, it's so much nostalgia. Like, it's crazy for me to see these characters and stuff, and it was really awesome. And so I'm glad that it didn't disappoint me, but it was also at the same time exactly what I thought it would be. Like, it was cheesy, it was kind of predictable and all that stuff, obviously, but I'm gonna say it, I didn't care.
Yeah, I was glad to see the characters from Thousand Acres. Is that-
Yeah, 100 Acre Wood, by the
100
way.
Acre Wood. See, I've not seen it since I was 9 or 10.
From Million Acre Wood.
Yes, million. That's what
From
I'm
10 by 10 square foot acre wood.
I'm glad to see Pooh and the Crew are exactly
The new indie punk band,
Yeah.
Pooh and the Crew.
I'm going to use that one. I'm glad to see that Pooh and the Crew are exactly as I remember them. Really great to see Pooh be his kind of ditzy self.
I loved how they animated the stuffed animals to look like stuffed animals, the ones that the actual Christopher Robin real life had.
It did tear me up a bit. I didn't
I did.
come all out involved,
I
but
did.
got me a little teary-eyed, reconciling with his family and everybody from the 100 Acres. Woods.
Square foot wood. The square foot wood. It's just a tree.
Yeah. I really enjoyed seeing them in the real world too.
Yeah, I love their reaction to the real world.
Yes,
too.
everybody else's reaction to them too.
Yeah, there was a
That was
lot of
fantastic.
that was the key thing to this movie, was I think the dialogue and interaction. Like, because I mean, as I said, the script is the plot is and all that, but just seeing these characters interact is what it's about. And I love the simplicity, the innocence, the naivety, and just pure heartedness of Winnie the Pooh. Like, the way he talks, it's something that I'm like, I miss that. Like, and I think everybody in a way does when they're confronted with that. They're like, I miss being naive and innocent and just pure. And that's the huge appeal of Winnie the Pooh. And you see it not just in him, but it's in all the characters too, the whole crew, to different levels. I mean, obviously Pooh's the most innocent and pure, but I mean, you see it in Tigger, you see it in all of them, and just the way that they accept things and how they perceive things. And I just loved how they were reacting to the things going on around them in their own way of looking at things. They would talk about life like what they were saying was obvious, but like, it sounds too simple to us, but the way they said it made you feel like you're just overcomplicating everything. I get where I'm going by walking away from where I've been. And people say that nothing is impossible, but I do nothing every day. I love that. That's philosophical. Like, that is brilliant, and I love stuff like that. And it's funny because, like, I was never questioning or even thinking about it until just now that this isn't written by the original writers or the original people involved. Like, they do that good of a job. They completely, purely capture the heart of Winnie the Pooh and all these characters. I never for a moment doubted it. That was Winnie the Pooh and everybody. That was. I accept that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically it for the spoiler-free stuff. Not that there's a whole lot of spoilers stuff to talk about, but honestly, yeah, like I said, it's not a perfect movie at all. It's cheesy, it's predictable, it's cookie cutter in a lot of ways, but like, I went into this movie not as a movie critic. Like, I turned that off for like once in a lifetime and just enjoyed this as a kid. And that's what this story is about, is like not worrying so much about getting work done, worrying about being an adult, worrying about responsibilities. It's just about being a kid. So if you're going to go see this movie, approach it that way. Approach it as a kid, or if you're taking your kids, approach it as a parent, and just remember what it's like to be a kid, be a part of a family, be a parent, and just enjoy it for what it is. It's a great movie for that, and you're gonna love it if that's what you're going for. If you're going for something else, then I don't know, go see something else. You're not gonna get anything special out of it other than, you know, what you put into it with the nostalgia, the childhood factor, everything about that. You're just gonna love it. So yeah, that's what we had to say about that. And if you want to stick around for the spoilers, that'll be coming right up. Thanks, guys. Oh yeah, subscribe and stuff.
Yeah, you can test that in later.
They might be gone already.
Oh, yeah, true.
Oh well. Oh bother. That would be just perfect.
Does this make me look bulky?
It was weird with this movie because I went into it going like, it's gonna be cheesy and it's gonna be cliched and stuff. Like, that's all the stuff you just pick up from the trailer. Like, the trailer, it was pieced together like, honestly, really kind of cheap. And then this movie started, and for the first 15-ish minutes, I was going, this isn't cheesy at all. This is like a really artistic movie, actually. And then, no, not anymore. So I think that kind of like screwed me up for a minute because I changed my expectations. And so then I had to revert back to my old expectations, and that's when I really enjoyed it again. So yeah, the first few minutes kind of throw you off, or at least it did for me, where it just like, it's going through the history or the growing up of Christopher Robin, and it's very mature, very adult. Like, it takes its time, honestly. Like, it didn't rush through his growing up at all. Like, I really thought that they were just gonna be like, and he's an adult now and he hates life, hey. But like, I felt like they took their time with it, and it was a really dramatic telling of it. It was artistic. There were some really good shots in there. You've got him walking through a field with Winnie the Pooh as a kid, and it's like you've got Pooh's hand brushing through the flowers, and it's just, it was artistic shots. I was like, this is not what I thought. And then you're like, oh, and now they're knocking suitcases over and not talking to each other, and we're back to a cheesy movie. And that's fine. That's fine. That's what I wanted. That's what it was, and I completely enjoyed it. That's what I was saying in the non-spoiler section. That's what it's there for. So I didn't need a heavy, you know, artistic telling of Winnie the Pooh. Like, that would be weird. I don't want that.
You know, I was glad to see at least a few minutes of Christopher Robin being a kid again.
Yeah.
It definitely was, especially for someone who hasn't seen much Winnie the Pooh in the last few years. It's definitely a big reminder of what it was like back then.
Yeah.
And to see them being together and Christopher Robin being his natural, happy self until World War II happened. It put a damper on
Until the
everyone.
war.
Yeah.
There was so many callbacks, so many subtle little things that, like, if you love Winnie the Pooh, you're gonna pick up on them. They have a scene where they're, like, on the bridge and they're dropping sticks, which is a famous thing that they did all the time, where they would watch the sticks and race the sticks under the bridge.
I didn't remember that scene until he actually did it by himself
Yeah.
and turned around to watch the stick float away.
As, like, they're bringing up these memories, I'm remembering it, too, with Christopher Robin. You're like, wow, this is deep. Like, you can tell whoever made this was a passion project. They did their homework. They enjoyed and knew the original content, the source material. This wasn't just, hey, we're gonna throw some money at a project and, like, make some money off of people's nostalgia. No, this was their nostalgia too. You could tell, like, they cared about what was going on. That whole time my stomach was rumbling, and I was like, I hope you can't hear that. You probably can't.
It'd be hilarious if they could.
It's a heffalump!
Louder!
Ah! That was one of the best scenes.
Yes.
When he's first embracing his childhood again and running around pretending to attack the heffalumps. And that was honestly when I first started to buy Ewan McGregor as Christopher Robin. So Pooh pops up like he does in the trailer, and he goes like, oh, I must be going insane. And Pooh's like, you don't look insane to me. And then after that, he switched from, like, thinking that he's insane to going, well, I hate Pooh. And it's like, I didn't totally agree with how they handled that. Like, it seemed like, why wouldn't you still think you were crazy for a bit longer? He went right from, I'm insane, to, all right, I guess I gotta take you home then. I'm like, huh.
The stuff when he started taking him home and he was actually getting him back into the woods, I thought that was pretty all right for adult Christopher Robin before he starts to embrace his inner child again. I would expect him to
there was
act,
definitely
like, hesitant with Pooh and try to keep him away and just maintain his adult status, and everything's that's too childish for my life now. I have important paperwork to do.
Yeah, there was definitely moments in there that was like good, but I felt like the scene with the heffalump was when it like solidified like this is they've hit their stride now. I felt like the first couple of scenes or whatever were really good, and then it kind of like it slowed down and struggled for a little bit until that scene, and then from that scene on they're like, we got this, we're good.
That was him getting back to real Christopher.
Yeah, I can't stress enough, I love Pooh's dialogue in this. In the train, he's just looking out the window and he's like, tree, car, woman.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. I was just like, he's just so pure. I love it so much.
Christopher Robin trying to explain why his kid has to do work rather than play to all of them. She likes work.
There was moments when like they were teaching you lessons in there about adulthood and knowing when to play and when to work that were kind of heavy-handed, but there was some good moments in there too. I think it was like half and half with that. Like they're all calling Christopher Robin a heffalump, and it's like you could tell this is supposed to be like a deep thing. Like heffalump represents fear and everything bad, and they're like kept calling him that, and he's like, no, that's everything I hate. I was like, oh yeah, he's become everything he hates. We get it. But like at the same time, like I'm saying, like this isn't for the inner movie critic. This is for the inner child. This is for the inner parent or whatever. You're either coming to this movie as a child or coming to this movie with a child. Like it's one or the other. You're not coming to this movie any other way.
I really enjoyed it when Pooh was just kept asking these simple questions. Well, why aren't you with them? Well, wouldn't that make you happy?
Yeah.
Would the bloom make your daughter happy? She looks like she's bored doing that work.
Just really like cementing the whole like what really does matter to you. It was already questions that have been like asked to him by his wife, but the way Pooh asked it was so just straightforward. And it's like we as adults overcomplicate everything. Like we're like, we need to work, we need to do this stuff so that we can, you know, have a good life. And his wife goes, you're living your life now. And it's true, you need a balance, you need to work, you need to have a way to provide for your family, but you also need to spend time with your family or it's all worthless. And how she said it didn't really get through to him, but when Pooh just keeps going, well, why? Well, why? He asks Christopher Robin, what's that briefcase? And he's like, oh, well, it's important things. And he's like, oh, is it more important than a balloon? And he's like, yes, it's more important than a balloon. And he goes, is it more important than your daughter? And he's like, no, of course not. But you can tell, like, he's like, why? I don't have an answer for this. Like, because he's never been confronted with the fact that he prioritizes work over his kid because he uses work as a way to provide for his kid. And he's like, I don't know how to answer this.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh cuts deep, man.
He really does.
One of the only things that actually did really annoy me at times throughout this movie, which had to do with the tone of it, was a little consistent, like I said, near the beginning. And then again at the end, was the boss was just too much of a cartoon, I guess. You just had Christopher Robin go through his whole growing up montage. His dad dies, he goes to war, he misses his childbirth, he misses out on all this life. You see him start prioritizing work over his wife by closing the doors when they're making noise and stuff. And then he's at work and people asking these questions and he's cutting through trying to figure out how to save money, and then his boss comes in and starts knocking over things and you're like, oh.
They had to make sure to knock over every single suitcase in that display.
It's like he knocked over the suitcases. He goes, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, and sets his hand on something and gets his hand dirty. And you're like, puns, yay. And then at the end of the movie, they do it again where he's getting caught for going golfing during a week that he was supposed to be working, and he pulls out his handkerchief and there's a golf ball in his pocket. And you're like,
yeah, that was pretty bad.
Come on. And then he sits down and a golf tee's on his chair, and he's like, why would he even have where did the golf tee come from?
Like, he made sure to get rid of the clubs. Why did he even bring them to work?
Why? Who puts a golf ball in their breast pocket, and who doesn't notice when it's that's very noticeable. Yeah. It's not a small
Monday
thing.
When they went back to work, you would think he got rid of all that stuff over the weekend.
Yeah, but does he live at his job?
Just came there straight from the golf course.
I don't get it. So yeah, that genuinely annoyed me, and that was the one thing that was like pulling me out, and I kept going, no, go, like stay a child, love it. Enjoy it.
Oh, God.
Don't be a critic. And that was the one moment that I kept going, but this is wrong. This is wrong. Point it out. I was like, no. The one thing that I was debating pointing out was I felt like the family dynamic was weak. But I don't want to nitpick it too much. Because like I keep saying, like, this isn't about it being a good movie or not. Like, because it was good enough for what it was doing.
I feel like between him and his wife was about what I expected. Her wanting him to spend more time with the family, him just being a workaholic.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with the daughter though, he was pressing her a bit hard.
Yeah.
I get the boarding school. He wanted her to go to the best school,
Yeah.
so he wanted to do the best grades. It's kind of a nitpick. His bedtime story to her.
Yeah.
Where he picks
was
up
over
the
the
historical
top, yeah.
book to read to her. He had to have known she has Treasure Island, unless the wife bought it and didn't mention it.
Yeah, that was one thing that I was struggling with. Like, I felt like a lot of the whole family dynamic was contrived and was over the top to push the point. But at the same time, it kind of fit the tone of the movie. So I'm like stuck somewhere in the middle of going like, I don't like that, but it's kind of what they were going for anyway.
Most of the rest of it, I'm perfectly fine with. It's just that what just seemed way bit overboard.
And I felt like the family didn't have any chemistry at all either. But then again, that's kind of the point. So once again, I'm just kind of like, I guess that's what an estranged family would look like. It's just, for me, it was kind of hard to believe that they would get to that point. Especially when it's like, they didn't show it in the trailer, so when they actually showed the reason he had to work over the weekend, it was a very important reason. He was trying his best to do the hard thing so that people wouldn't lose their jobs. He was trying to cut spending in other areas so that they wouldn't have to fire people. That's extremely important. And if he just went home and explained it to his wife, it would be a non-issue, I feel like. But, of course, they didn't talk about it.
Yeah, he definitely didn't.
He just said, it's unavoidable. That's all he said. It's unavoidable. And she goes, it always is. And it's like, did they really get to this point just by not communicating? And I guess it's possible, but it just
seems to be a common theme in these things. Just lack of communication.
It seems so, like, just forced. And I guess that's kind of just what they were going for. But it did seem kind of just contrived. And I don't know. That's frustrating, but I don't care. I just don't care. Like, you could point out tons of flaws in this movie. Like, you genuinely could. You could point out the flaw with the boss. You could point out the flaw with the family dynamic. You could point out the flaw with, I don't know, nitpick a million things. The kid actor sucked. Whatever. I don't care. My point is, this movie isn't about the little nitpicky things. It's about sitting back and just enjoying it for what it is. And if that's what your goal is with that movie, that's what you'll get out of it. So it's like, yeah, it's not perfect. How many movies really are? If I went and said, oh, give this movie a rating, I might say, oh, it's 6.5, 7-star movie. I don't know, something like that.
I give it a B.
But
I
what kind of rating system is this?
I don't know.
B?
I'm doing A. I'm doing A through F, man.
I made a point to come see this opening night because I thought it's an adventure. We're having an adventure. We're doing fun things. It's stupid. I came here straight after work. I'm tired, but I had fun, and I don't regret that because that's what this is all about, is just being a child and knowing when to work and when to play. And that's what this is about. So I guarantee if you're a harsh movie critic, you'll notice things in there. But if you're like me, you can just push that aside and just enjoy this for what it was. And it's great for that. And I can guarantee this is going to be on my best movies of the year list at the end of the year. It's already definitely going to be on there for me. Give him an Oscar. give Winnie the Pooh an Oscar. Just give it to him right now.
Yes, just Winnie.
They give Tigger an Oscar for being the best Tigger. His acceptance speech is, I'm the only one, so I get this Oscar every year.
I'm not even going to do a movie next year.
Next year, you got some other person playing a Tigger, and they win the award. No! It's appropriation!
Tigger branches out. Now he's doing action flicks with The Rock. The Rock and Tigger.
Skyscraper 2.
Tigger, we need to get to the top of the skyscraper. Well, hop on. I'll hop us up there.
So, yeah, we got off topic there. But, yeah, and that's what this is about. It's just about having fun. So, if you want to have a good time, if you're willing to put aside any critics or whatever, then you'll really enjoy this, especially if you grew up watching Winnie the Pooh. I think even if you didn't, you can enjoy this.
If you have a soul, you will enjoy this film.
If you have a heart,
Even a small one.
it might just grow 3 times the size.
Maybe you may be low on brains, but you might be big on heart.
I can honestly just, wholeheartedly recommend this movie. It's a lot of fun. It's totally worth it. I'm gonna go back and see it again with my dad probably in a couple days. It's totally worth it. Yeah. So thanks, guys. Bye.